All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and winners wait for no one. We're going to be moving on to the winners finals now of the amateur league here from Team HeroesHype. Forgor Jester and Miss Anna Prosser with us. So it's been 5.5 hours, a little bit longer than we originally thought, but some fantastic games from some of these upcoming teams.
Absolutely. I'm stoked to get right into this draft. And I see that we have shortened names, so the Fae, as we're calling them, the Happy Fairy Dragons. They do not like dogs. They are allergic to dogs, and they do not want Rhaegar to play.
No fight dog.
No dogs.
That face. So yeah, the Rising Taquitos to go up against the Happy Fairy Dragons.
It's a great mental image, Taquitos Rising.
Well, there's a movie out there, Jupiter Rising? No, Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending, yeah.
So I don't know. I keep seeing the Rising Taquitos. I'm reminded of something, but I can't quite think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think of Mexican food.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, there we go. Happy Fairy Dragons and Rising Taquitos. We're going back to the Dragonshire. Apparently, it is Dragon Week. We must honor the Dragonshire, according to one of the teams. All hail. One of these days, I'll get this overlay right. There we go. Rhaegar going in for a ban. Nazebo. So one of the team doesn't like pets. The other doesn't like strange uncles from the jungle.
And they want none of his witchcraft. And he shall be banned. We do have a first pick from the Happy Fairy Dragons, and they want that Sergeant Hammer action.
They are a fan of the hammer. And when you're a hammer, everything looks like nails. And so far, I don't think they've lost with the hammer today. So, hey, why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Flip side, though, a very popular first pick warrior, the Battle Cow, once more coming into the ranks.
Yes, and to be joined by Vala. Very sensible pick. Sensible picks all around. Vala just a strong, like you said, she's like the wingman you always want to have. If she can't go out that night, not a big deal. You're not going to, try to engineer her life. But if she hangs out, that's cool. It's probably going to be a good night. I don't know. That metaphor got out of hand, but, she's there. She's good.
Night. Somebody who also having a good night, Stitches. Stitches is getting a lot of playtime here in the Nexus tonight. So if you have seen his hero trailer, everyone is always just like, why is it Stitches? Why? It's so sad nobody plays with him. A lot of play with Stitches tonight. No bans. Or relatively few bans, I should say, as he hasn't really been the big target. Rhaegar, Nazebo, Zeratul, they've been much bigger bans for tonight, but he's also joined by his good friend, or something of the sort, Uther, going to be going there. And again, we're setting up very nicely for Protect the Hammer comp.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just going to be trying to make sure that nothing that really counters that hammer comes out on the other side, although they can't do much about it. And the Rising Taquitos answer with Malfurion and Tassadar, 2 supports.
And Malfurion and Tassadar, I'm curious to see if we're setting up for an Illidan, but that will be something to the last pick, I suppose, because that's all they got left. And Malfurion's been seeing a lot of playtime. Now, you might be saying, why are we seeing so much Malfurion? What happened to the days of Brightwing? And the bigger problem there is that they just nerfed Brightwing this patch. She's squishier, doesn't have nearly as much health scaling, and I believe they had a bigger cooldown to Blink Heal. Was it Blink Heal? One of her healing spells got a cooldown increase, right. So she has fallen off a little bit. We've been seeing a lot more Malfurions, a lot more Rhaegars, which is why the ban, and of course the Uthers have been very popular out there tonight, but this is almost cookie cutter. Anna, looking at the Happy Fairy Dragons, they got themselves another Thrall. And a Rainer, believe it or not.
Interesting. That's not as much cookie cutter from them, that Rainer. What do you think they're picking that?
Well, they need another range.
Have to do with his mercenary powers?
They need another range DPS. And if you need to go for somebody a bit more survivable, his adrenaline rush, his passive, is going to far outweigh early game advantages as to, like a Falstad or a Tychus. At the same time, this is also a map that we've seen a lot of Merc pressure. And if we go Rainer's Raiders, the new bribe mechanic that is unique to Rainer, we might actually be seeing a bit more bribe heavy from him.
Cool. I would like to see that. We haven't seen a whole lot of bribe action going on. And Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just getting word from admins that I believe they're switching it up so that this will be the last best of 3 of the night. So that's just a heads up to the viewers.
Well, we'll make it a good one.
Absolutely. Who's our last?
So this will be to determine first place. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. Question
We
mark?
we will confirm that for you. But this may be the biggest match of the night.
So if this best of 3 goes on longer than a 2-0, there won't even be a round 8 to cast. Okay, so yes, this will be our last sets, and this will be for first seeds. Now, first place is literally just, it's all seeding points, right? Because this is a league, not a tournament. And I guess whoever comes out ahead on the loser's bracket will be second. So there you go, PSA. Either way, the teams are ready to go, and the last pickup here was a Zagara.
Which is really interesting because we've seen how Zagara can cancel out the, wealth of damage that comes from a Sergeant Hammer.
And yes, that is exactly right. Very good, because I don't have to explain it. Yeah. Yeah, she's a great, it's if you can't get a Zeratul, get a Zagara. It's like having a ranged version that doesn't stealth but pushes very well, for sure.
And we were, assuming that we were going to see some sort of counter to Sergeant Hammer with that first pick, and we have seen Zagara used as a counter to Sergeant Hammer before. It's interesting that the Fairy Dragons didn't pick up Zagara as well as they have been running the Siege Sisters build, but looking pretty solid even without her.
Totally that now on the Siege Sisters.
Siege Sisters.
So good. It is so good. All right.
Sister Siege Sister. Okay. No more parody songs during this cast. All right, so we're going on to Dragonshire. If you don't know how this works by now, you haven't been watching long enough. What have you been doing with your life? I'm glad you're here now, though, and I will explain it to you one more time. In short, 2 shrines, top and bottom. Get the shrines, activate the Dragon Knight, put one of your team members inside the Dragon Knight, and they will become all powerful, all damagey, all fire breathing, and can punt your enemies to their doom.
All damagey, all powerfully, and punt.
Yep.
I love it.
And all dragony.
Happy Fairy Dragons. And Rising Taquitos don't fit on my overlay, so I had to noodle the names a little bit. Seriously, guys, the longest names I've ever seen from some of these teams.
Battle commencing.
My goodness.
It is an interesting phenomena here in the amateur series that teams have very, very long names for their casters to try very hard to not make into tongue twisters.
Stop the Skype sounds.
Fight
Skype
well,
sounds.
heroes.
Skype sounds. I don't know. Either way, ignore that. So moving on. Yes, Dragonshire, we've seen a lot of it. This is our 3rd one in a row. 5th one overall, I think.
And we're seeing all 5 Fairy Dragons run to the middle, hoping to get a kill, but being denied that kill as the Rising Taquitos prefer a little more conservative approach with 1 in top, 1 in mid, and 3 in that party lane at the bottom.
Yeah, party lane. It's a thing. Catching on. I love it. Putting 4 mid, though. Yeah, that's not something that's going to stick around. Panda, Jigu, they are able to actually clean up the creep wave in very short order, which is now going to reflect the ammo count. Thrall and Zagara up top, that's a tricky one. Whoever plays better really is going to win out that. But there we go. We got the collapse into the bottom. It will be the 3-on-3. Vala up against the Sergeant Hammer. It's definitely going to be interesting exchange going back and forth. Vala has, a bit bigger burst, but the Siege Tank has bigger range.
Have to give a shout out to that Zagara skin. Looking pretty cool on a Rise chicken. Again, food rising. There's a theme going on here. Pretty cool looking.
Really? No fresh? No.
Activate the shrines.
Mistakes were maybe made. I don't know. Solo Nazgul, nah. Mudbud is not a food. But no, going back and forth, Zagara and Thrall likely not to have any kills unless they have some visitors. And Raynor, what did Raynor go level 1? No, he did actually go give me more, which is increases his adrenaline rush healing. So he can trade out decently well and then, trigger his healing passive and then wait and trade out and trigger, rinse, repeat. Kind of like expand, contract. Oh, what a hook on top of the Solo Nazgul. But he just face melts. He's going to be all right. Belfray is here as well, looking for, the roots. The roots on top of Dawn Blue. It's almost enough for Mistakes to actually take home the kill on top of the Siege Tank, but they do get the kill on top of the Stitches. Nice collapse right there.
Yeah, and it looks like Panda Jigu was a little too late to come help out his brethren, and then decides, oh well, didn't work out, better go back.
Oh, it's a Skype alert. I am so sorry, people. I am so sorry. Yeah, that was the admin talking. The blink, not me. I have fixed it. No more Skype sounds. 2 minutes away, whatever. Either way, level 5 to 4 with that kill. And what are the shrines? Shrines are going back and forth a little bit. Blue and red, the do-si-do, the seesaw. It's dimension.
We are singing like Kesha as we tick-tock back and forth on these shrines.
TikTok. Isn't that a Kish? Yeah, we should stop that question. Double healing wards into this bottom lane. That's something that Faerie and Tassadar do bring. And you can see they're juggling the hit points very well, but they are still slowly losing it off. And bottom lane will go the way of red. It's up to Thrall now to try to take out top, but I don't think he has really the pressure he needs. A Rise Chicken has kept him pretty pushed back. So we're going to just use the siege tank, bottom lane. That's what we're going to do.
Something that carries over from StarCraft, if you were a Zerg player like me and you see all this creep spread everywhere, you are delighted. And that is because Zagara can move faster. She can sometimes heal even faster. She can do all sorts of things if she covers the ground in that creepy carpet. So she's got quite the creep spread up here at top, and that's also going to give her vision, so she'll know exactly where the other team is if they go anywhere near this shrine.
It's a little bit of a weakness of Thrall. Can't really deal with those tumors very easily. Has to use mana for it. You don't really want to be doing that as Thrall. So yeah, it's a really actually good lane matchup there. The bottom lane gank came in, but solo Nazgul is not going to go down. But Don Lu is just going to set up, and he already took on one tower. He's looking to grab the second. The second tower might actually be enough for a level advantage, but if they kill that Tassadar, that could actually be enough for a level advantage as well. Nazgul's going to go in, but first aid is now popped. So the level 7 talent from Dawn, so he's going to get all that hit points back. And if you can't deal with the siege tank, this is a very bad situation to be in.
Yeah, and Dawn likes to just park over there, use that range to get at him, and then jet her way out.
And the Vala really came in way too late. They weren't able to save out the tower. And that gate already down. If we do get a Dragon Knight, it's going to go straight to mid and then likely up to the top. Because, 3 towers, free experience. The little things do help.
We are blessed.
So we see that the Siege is doing really well top and Siege is doing really well bottom. So we can conclude some things about Siege on Dragon Knight, don't you think?
That Siege is good.
I've heard it's pretty good.
And as I said, way back hours ago now, there's really 2 maps that you don't have to traditionally go for heavy assassins, and it's Dragonshire and it's Haunted Mines, because it's more important to keep map control rather than fights, so that you can claim the objective. And Haunted Mines, you get, you have to go into the mines and get 100 skulls. Well, Siege are really good at that, and if you lose out that, at least you can push the lane. It's a similar idea here. If you can't force out fights, but you can protect your Siege, well, we've seen it repeatedly, right? You lose out gates and towers and creeps and pressure to split pushing, and it's phenomenal. It's really good.
And that's what's happening here bottom. We've got Shrey, Inkling, and Don Lu pushing this bottom, and Sergeant Hammer just sitting there and again wailing on these buildings from far away where Solo Nazgul cannot even reach, and not being contested until it is too late.
Oh, I think Buds is going to get this kill up top. He took Earthquake! It's not a Sundering! Oh, that clutch maw. Arise, chicken, you are now a man. And, or a...
A foul.
Whatever.
Matured foul. Yeah.
It was more like he was being knighted at the time, I guess, in my head. But now, had Buds actually had Earthquake or Sundering instead of Earthquake, so I didn't notice that, I think he would have easily taken home the kill. But we've been seeing Earthquake pick into Nazebos to try to curb out the Ravenous. But the Earthquake, man, Buds really wants to get into the thick of things with that. That's not an ultimate I've seen in a while on Thrall.
Very interesting. If people aren't familiar with Earthquake, can you tell a little bit more about it?
So yeah, the Earthquake is, I'll just highlight it here for people. Summon an Earthquake that periodically slows enemies in an area by 70%. It's AoE around him. He's the center, he's the epicenter of the Earthquake. So if he's around a lot of the enemy team, a 70% slow is ridiculous slow. You're almost crawling at that point. So he's setting up here for, the Uther and the Sergeant Hammer, and well, I guess that's it. That's really only big AoEs. Bottom lane, kind of anticlimactic. We had the mosh pit, but it didn't actually lead into anything. Archon got popped down here as well, and well, they're still going back and forth for the fight. They could be a little dangerous now that Nazgul is behind them. The roots are not going to hit anyone though, and Srey and Inkling are going to be okay. That's a very strong survivability duo. That's going to be the tranquility there for Mudbutt. I don't think we have the damage to take down anybody in this bottom lane. It's literally 2 supports and a battle cow. It's really hard to get any kills in that one.
And something else of note, we did see Putrid Bile again on Stitches on this map. So we'll see that kind of, when you stop those melee heroes trying to come in like UTC, easy to just kind of drop that sticky glue all over their shoes.
But he's the only melee. Usually a Putrid Bile will come out if you want zone control, or you can punish out melees. Solo Nazgul still not dying. Oh, the sprint. Inkling is going for it. 1 auto attack doesn't get the next. That it's actually not going to be the hook there on top of Mudbutt as well. Finally, Mistakes has come down. Thrall is joining the party, finally. And that will be a first kill on the board, second as well for the Faerie Dragons, as they will happily take the new introduction of Thrall into the team.
Interesting. Like you said, we're not going to see anyone put into Stitch's stomach. May have been introduced to him.
Double support in ETC, I would gladly take a hook gorge with a fishing hook later on. So, I mean, maybe they just want that zone control. Maybe, that plus the Thrall, the double slow factor. I think it's double slow factor. Future Bio does slow them 35%. 70% and 35%. That's a lot of slow. It could be something like that.
Yeah. So again, warring over these shrines. We see a lot of action mid right now because as long as you can control the mid, even if the shrines are claimed, you're still going to prevent that dragon.
Vala came up top, didn't notice, and neither did the Raynor because he died. Raynor also went Hyperion, and Hyperion got reworked this patch, Anna. If you don't know about it, it's very akin to its actually original incarnation, which is a giant, pushing damage ball of death, but it also gets Yamato lasers. So the Yamato guns. Yeah, if you know anything from StarCraft, let me know that the Yamato cannon is absolutely nuts and bonkers. But so they redid that. I've been seeing a lot of Hyperions and not a lot of Banshees anymore. But wow, look at this gank down stuff. It's a dead sequence.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that Hyperion works with that slow that you're talking about. Maybe they'll be able to do some crazy crowd control.
So they're going to zone out with the Putrid Bio and the Earthquake for Sergeant Hammer and Hyperion. Maybe. I don't know. That'd be very interesting to see. Srey, however, yeah, he blew up. Look at all that insides on the floor. Yeah. Yep.
Insides are outsides now.
The Rising Taquitos are actually catching quite a few kills. I mean, right now, they've gone into the bottom lane. They got the kill on the Sergeant Hammer. They go mid. They get the kill on the Stitches. Now they got the map control, the man control. They're dead even with the talents. We could actually see our first dragon here at level 16 simply because of the out-of-position nature of the Faerie Dragons right there.
But the Faerie Dragons have managed to grab both Siege Giant camps down there at the bottom. So while they fight over the dragon shrines, the Rising Taquitos are going to have to make sure to take care of that threat as well. So they've got a little more on their plate.
The Taquitos have definitely a full plate, but they haven't bit off more than they can chew yet. They do have 4 kills to 2, and their surviving comp has worked out pretty good so far. Thrall is top, and you can see Stitches heading mid. There's absolutely nobody from the Taquitos in position, but Srey's not going to go for it because they lose out bottom shrine. So we're still playing the Do-Si-Do game. 11 minutes in now.
11 minutes in.
It's a long Do-Si-Do.
Swinging their partners. Do-Si-Do.
Round and round they go.
And I'm, keeping an eye on these mercenary camps as the Rising Taquitos do go for the Knight's bottom, which I think is smart. Thinking, as long as we're preventing the Dragon Knight, we got to take whatever advantages we're given. We find ourselves alone down here in the bottom lane. Let's take advantage of it. And we'll see if they even go ahead for these siege giants as well, as they're just trying to take all the advantages they can with whatever room they're given.
Somebody just pointed out it's the hype period. All right, this mid-fight a little bit too hype. Inkling did get off actually a really nice stun on top of 3 team members. There's the Putrid Vial, there's the Hyperion, and there's the Earthquake, all slowing everyone here. A Rise Chicken getting really low. Panda Jigu is actually getting focused down and has already used out that adrenaline rush. And Inkling, skin of his teeth, is going to live. There we go, a little bit of a heal going his way of Stray. And Don Liu is actually going to catch up with those thrusters. 2 for 1 by the end of it, and the combo did not really seem as damaging as it could be.
Yeah, I was happy to see them all happen as we predicted, but then as you said, either they were not executed quite as well as they could have been, or maybe they weren't as effective as they predicted. And looks like the Rising Taquitos kind of came out on top, as they now are starting to destroy those towers mid lane.
Every heroic is basically down. I don't know why Earthquake actually isn't part of that rotation, but it is for sure 100% down. And maybe at 13.5 minutes, we're going to see our first Dragon Knight. Inkling, however, says no. He will take the Do-Si-Do in the next round and take the bottom shrine. But so many creep tumors. Look at this. This is a little creep highway going all the way bottom lane from Chicken.
Awesome.
He's been very on top of those tumors.
And that gives Zagara a lot more mobility than she would normally have. It's something that a lot of people underestimate or maybe don't think about as they're trying to just make sure that they do that siege damage and all of that. But it's an integral part of her abilities.
Absolutely, yeah. Health regen, movement speed, vision. What's not to love with a creep tumor? And you know,
it covers everything in that cute purple smear.
Yes, cute. That's the word.
Yeah.
If you guys are Zerg fans at all, I mean, you will recognize the creep. But I'm actually a little disappointed that the creep doesn't affect allies. It only affects Zagara and Trinity. Like, we need to get a Zerg team where everything's effective, actually. Come on, Dahak.
At least Kerrigan.
Exactly, right? And Abathur? Well, Stray is destroyed in the top 4-on-1. Once more, we're getting these solo picks from Rising Taquitos. And I know it's getting a little bit late, but the Faerie Dragons are kind of forgetting that #1 rule after level 13. What is that rule?
Strength in numbers for Court Jester.
Strength in numbers. So many solo kills, and once you start that lemming effect, it's a little hard to stop. And you can see, finally, at the almost 15-minute mark, our first dragon and our second fort is going to go the way of the Taquitos.
And we've got 5 up for the Taquitos and only 4 for the Happy Fairy Dragons, so they are at a disadvantage. They already would be at a disadvantage with this Dragon Knight pushing, so they're going to have to be really smart about how they engage. And it looks like they are not overextending, which is good.
You need to wait for that Stitches. Having a Stitches dead means you don't have the frontliner, but you also don't have that hook pressure. So the opponents, who usually have to dance around a bit, be very conscious of positioning, no, none of that's there. They just go straight in and put an axe to your face from a giant dragon. And that's what they're doing. They're about to take the second fort as well. Every little bit towards 20 at this point is a big advantage. As you can now see, Putrid Vial, it's going to be down, but we kick out the Stitches. Belfray, not overextending whatsoever. He knows that they got their combo ready to go. And using that Putrid Vial means that if we reset the fight here, we don't have a Putrid Vial to fight on. And that's a disadvantage for the Dragon.
They are going to probably take that, oh, yep, the whole shebang. They're going to take it down, and ooh, we see Hyperion coming into play.
And here comes the Hyperion. Good Maw, though. He's going to keep that Stray in the back, Don Lu in the back as well, but they do trade out at least 1 kill for 2 yet again. Some big auto attacks. No, that Archon, wow. That could have almost been the end of the siege tank, but the Archon is just going to use the dimensional shift and get out of dodge. It is actually a 2 for 1 once more for these fights, but it's also level 20 for the Taquitos.
Which means they are going to be looking for a fight. They are not going to shy away from their enemies because they know they've got that upper hand on them. So where do we think they're going? It looks like they might be heading for that Night Camp bottom. What do you think?
The Night Camp is definitely a good option. Their Siege Giants just got up and they pinged it, or somebody pinged it. Vala had to come all the way home in order to stop some of those minion pushes. But yeah, it does look like the Night Camp, or well, sorry, the Losers as they call it now, is going to be the big focus. And yeah, between the 3 of them, they got that on lockdown. We also got some more Siege Giants spawning. and a minute on the upper 2. So right now, Taquitos need to press advantage. They got level 20 versus 19. They need to try to use that as best they can. The problem is they don't have any heroics, whereas the Faerie Dragons do, and they will happily use them on a team that pushes out. It's a little bit of a frustrating situation.
And it looks like they are not shying away from the fight either, as they're all gathering bot lane where they know that the Rising Taquitos are. They're defending against those bruisers that have just been captured. So they're not going to do any damage, and that's going to be not costly for them.
No, not whatsoever. And biding your time, even though you got the 20 advantage, that means, yeah, you have these Storm Tiers talents, which is great. But if you don't have heroics, and the enemy team is level 19, and they do have heroics, they will wreck you 100%, and now you've lost an entire late game advantage. So yes, I think it was a great idea that they stopped. Solo Nazgul does have that mosh pit ready to go, and they're chomping at the bit. Look at this, the blink forward into the mosh pit. Here comes the rest of the team cleanup from the Rising Taquitos. They get the Uther, who does get off that Divine Storm. Here's the Earthquake as well, but man, it's the Faerie Dragons on the run. They are so low on the hit points. They don't have their healer, and they weren't able to once again take a kill in this team fight. So map positioning once again rewarded to the Rising Taquitos, who should be able to press this advantage, get a Bruiser Camp, and then a Dragon Knight, maybe even end the game.
Yeah, and they are sitting pretty behind layers of powers, while the Happy Faerie Dragons are feeling a little bit exposed right now.
Nice pickup there from the Panda in the bottom lane. They clean up some of these Giants that are pushing out, and they do take home a Shrine. Looks like we're just going to use the 5-man pressure with the Bruisers actually to push down the top gate. There's no rush, it seems, to pick up a Dragon Knight, which is, somewhat valid. They still got 10 seconds till Uther can even spawn. So why not get a little bit of extra damage? If they do take down this gate, and it is dead, I'm curious to see if the Dragon Knight's going to push top.
Oh, good idea.
Well, there's no gate mid either, but, bottom has a gate. They're probably not pushing bottom.
And they're actually falling all the way back to take this Bruiser Camp, so being really conservative, making sure they've got things pushing in all areas, actually grabbing the Shrine bottom with Tassadar, and having ETC poised to take that Dragon Knight. And it doesn't look like the Happy Faerie Dragons are in position to deny that very quickly.
Well, they did get the top Shrine, so they have at least successfully denied for now. You look at the positioning here. Stitches and Uther, you guys aren't getting the drop on us. Unfortunately, there's no drop happening. They're going straight for keep. And the Taquitos are forcing all of them back. It's a little bit of a fake out move, but hey, it worked. Just like you're pushing our top, okay, we'll push the keep. All right.
Yeah, they've given themselves so many options, and this is a game of taking advantage of your opportunities, and they are doing that right now. So they're like, oh, well, okay, we'll try mid. No, okay, well, fine, we'll go top. Oh, no, well, let's go with Dragon Knight. They have lots of things they can do, and they've got control over the Happy Faerie Dragons in that way.
Oh, here it is, the Earthquake Hyperion Hype combo, 1 and 2. They are actually getting a lot of damage here on top of the Taquitos, but that's the Blink Forward Belfry! Oh, that Blink Forward was terrible. And it didn't get anything for it. They actually finally lose a team fight to Taquitos.
Oh, and that hook could have been a huge boon to the Happy Faerie Dragons, but unfortunately doesn't grab anybody. But it looks like they're running down to the mid lane at least, maybe heading down to try to grab some Siege Giants.
I think I have to amend that. That wasn't ETC that blinked forward. I think the hook actually got I thought that was I thought that was a blink forward from Nazgul for the mosh pit because there's 4 of them there. But Tassadar died and the hook's on cooldown, so I don't know. It's one of the two. I'll find out in 2 minutes when it Nazgul actually did just use his mosh pit on nobody. That is a huge mistake because it's down for 100 seconds now.
Oh, that's going to be a big deal as they group up for yet another team fight here at the mid.
And they have the man advantage. I mean, this is the first time Faerie Dragons have taken a fight, and they're going to try to use that Sergeant Hammer to push in. Does Sergeant Hammer have graduating range? She totally does. You can see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you have this bug too? Do you see Sray just kind of pointing everywhere? I got a green arrow coming out of Sray every time.
Nope, I don't see that.
All right, might just be me. That's fine. 22-21, we did push out a little bit. We got some damage there into the mid. You can see Panda, he's up top. He's going to try to take this shrine, but Mudbutt bottom is going to deny it. I know, right? And if they catch anybody at this point, if there's a 4-1 split anywhere, that's disastrous consequences in this game. But both teams polarized to top and bottom. How have they not taken this top fort? This is the first damage on this top fort. Would you believe it?
I do now.
You will believe it.
Red team has destroyed a fort.
What are they doing back here? It looks like the Rising Taquitos have decided it's important to get through the Siege Giants. Not a bad idea, taking advantage of the space that they're getting, although the Happy Fairy Dragons do seem to be on their way to contest.
Well, they took a fort, so I mean, their job was done. Siege Giants and Bruisers is a really good front line, but Sergeant Hammer's just going to win. And yeah, they're not going to get nurtured whatsoever. Yeah, so looking at the preview monitor, it was a hook on top of the Archon. So, yes. Yay, awesome. 5
Yeah, so would you have just, if you were the Rising Taquitos, would you have pushed alongside your mercenaries there? Do you think that would have been the best way to get benefit out of it?
Maybe. I mean, they denied the camp to their opponents, which is more important at this stage than actually nurturing them. And they had to have known that the Fairy Dragons were coming back because they weren't pushing out top anymore. Like, they killed the fort and they disappeared, right? Mm-hmm. So pushing there was risky. They had the level advantage. I think they had all their cooldowns up, so they might have been able to use the extra bodies to try to at least take down the gate. But playing it conservative is never a bad way to go, and conservative might be the name of the game then. But right now, everybody's committing. The Hyperion, the Slow, and the Spray doing big work. The Archon did not go down. It was not going to be a kill right there. But at the same time, it looks like they've shattered the offensive here with the Rising Taquitos. 2 of them are up top, split from the 3 here mid, and map positioning is enough. That's going to be a late game Dragon Knight here for the Fairy Dragons.
And that is going to do a lot of damage for those Happy Fairy Dragons. They must be very happy indeed right now as they're waltzing into this base. Very well prepared. Sergeant Hammer sitting in the back, just raining down damage as the Dragon Knight tanks for them up front.
It's a fantastic late game. You should never ever be a dragon as a siege tank. You should always complement the dragon as a siege tank. And right now, this late game potential might be shining through. We haven't lost a team fight in 2 engages now from the Fairy Dragons, despite being down almost an entire level all game. They brought it back, and now this late game dragon is taking as many gates as it can.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a trend here where it looks like a team might be down, and then at the very end they say, you know what, we've just been building this whole time to become strong and come and murder you.
Like building siege tanks all game, and then all of a sudden, surprise, Hyperions. Just you're not ready for it. Like the transition, so far the Taquitos have not really adapted to it, but we haven't really seen really good mosh pits either. I'm not calling out Solo Nazgul, but a bigger factor is that we have this ETC, but he doesn't really seem to be doing the CC that he needs to. He has the blink and he has the mosh pit, and I want to see a really good blink mosh, but so far we just haven't been there yet.
Yeah, we only have 6 more seconds on this Dragon Knight. We're getting a few more. Whoa.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Valor just absolutely blew up. I mean, did you see the amount of the crowd control that went on top of Solo Nazgul there? There it is. That's the blink. That's not going to be it because we had just a split second of time where the penetrating shot stopped the mosh pit. They killed out the Valor. They killed out the Zagara. The combos from Fairy Dragons. It's going to be enough. They're going to be able to take this game on the back of this fight.
Oh, the hook.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no blink ready here for the Nazgul. He has to burn everything just to get it out of dodge. Mid lane has catapults pushing in. The top, maybe not so much. That's actually a reverse push. But with 2 people dead and a siege tank, all you got to do is protect the Hammer and she'll win the game for you right now. And the Battle Cow, I guess, agrees. And so does Malfurion because it's just...
That positioning was so beautiful. Just that concave around Sergeant Hammer saying, all right, you start hitting the core. We'll protect you. We've got plenty of time. That calm positioning was perfect.
Look at this range. Shift Z all the way can barely contain the range that this Sergeant Hammer has. It's absolutely fantastic. Game number 1, from behind with the late game comp. it will be the Happy Fairy Dragons taking the win in this best of 3.
Happy indeed. They are.
How to Train Your Dragon? Well, the fairies have definitely done it. My goodness.
Yes. How to Train Your Dragon, follow it with a tank.
Follow it around.
And it will do well. Yeah, so Rising Taquitos, what do you think we could teach them, or what could we advise them, having been, the omniscient observers of this game? They did play very, very well, and there wasn't a clear lead the whole time. But what do you think you would tell them?
It's hard to say, really. Their early game advantages was only about a level by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then their late game, they just didn't really seem to be able to pull off a combo. I mean, they had the Archon, they had the Zagaramaz, but I didn't see like Zagaramaz into mosh pits. I didn't see big setups there. And a lot of it has to do with the fact of the team comp. Raynor with Penetrating Shot will interrupt channels. We didn't have Sundering, but we did have the Earthquake, the stuns from Uther, and the Concussive Shot, or the Concussive Blow. Concussive Blast, that's the word, from Sergeant Hammer. There was a lot of things to stop out the ETC mosh pit. Perhaps we would have been served a little bit better with Stage Dive, get that global presence in. Go all the way bottom lane, grab the shrine, Stage Dive top for the team fight. Maybe. They didn't really make a lot of mistakes. It's just they couldn't really use mosh pit by the end of it. And when you're down 1 heroic, that's a big deal.
I think something I saw the Fairy Dragons do really, really well too was that positioning and the coordination and making sure that they're thinking about where everyone else on their team is all at the same time. And that's not to say that the Rising Taquitos didn't do that. It's just something that I saw them do really, really well that I think benefited them all the way to the end of the game.
They definitely took a lot of the last... this is our 3rd Dragon Shire map in a row. They're very warmed up on it. They know what's up. And they get their hammer again. They haven't lost on Dragonshire with Sergeant Hammer. Perhaps that's going to be a big key then. Grab the Sergeant Hammer and ban it, or ban it as a first pick. So maybe that's a big thing here for their team comp. Either way, it was a fantastic combination. They played to the late game. That was a 24-ish minute win. One of our longer games. Definitely one of the longer games you're going to see in Heroes of the Storm, but. C'est la vie. Rinse, wash your hands. Next game, we got a game 2 coming your way, and we're going to hop to it because it is almost 2 a.m. here, 11 p.m. I believe your time. Teams have been playing for 6 hours now. And again, this is going to be our last set of matches, so they want to hop to it, and we will too. So for Gort and Anna, we will be right back with game number 2 of the winners finals here for the Team HeroesHype Amateur League.